Chad, second. Is there any discussion? Let's call for the vote.
Paulsgraf, aye.
Chad Wadsworth, aye. Tim Jorgensen.
Kelly Jensen, aye. That's a 4-0. That's approved. I'd like to get a motion to move to closed session, to adjourn to closed session. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Yeah. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Paulsgraf, aye.
Chad Wadsworth, aye. Tim Jorgensen.
Kelly Jensen, aye. That's a 4-0 vote. So we're going to adjourn to closed session at 6:33 p.m. Go ahead and we will come back, and we're going to go ahead and do the, sorry, I lost my place. We're going to reconvene at 7:47 p.m. Sorry about that. And tonight we're going to have a flag salute by Mr. King. Mr. King, we lead us the flag salute.
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Mr. Paulsgraf, would you please go ahead and go over the civility statement?
If it pleases the board, I would also like Mr. King to read the civility statement. When conducting the district's business, we will strive to communicate clearly and concisely with respect for the time of others. Listen objectively, carefully considering the opinions of others. Understand the counterproductive effects of disruptive, demeaning, and intimidating behaviors. Understand and respect district policies and procedures. Maintain a respect for the rich history of the district and the efforts of others who have served in the past. An initiative of Ken Paulsgraf, Board President, 2019-2020. Thank you, Mr. King. Now we'll go back to the walls in the office, and I'll continue to study it every day until the point where I think I could finally follow one of them.
Thank you, and thank you for putting that up there. I appreciate that. Next, we have public comments, recognitions, and reports. I'm going to go ahead and take that first one. I'm going to turn some time over to Mrs. Kim Shaw, please, for some public comments. Good evening, Mrs. Shaw.
Good evening, President Jensen and board members. As you know, this evening is Mr. King's final board meeting with us here at Acton Aguadulce. And in order to celebrate his service to our district, the High Desert Video Production class has created a little walk down memory lane for us to enjoy. So without further ado, I'd like to share that with you now.
Good evening, Superintendent King, Acton Aguadulce School Board, and community. Tonight we have a special surprise tribute to our amazing superintendent. Let's take a look at the inspiring moments from Mr. King's 4 years in Acton Aguadulce.
A stay gold moment is when you do something that affects your life or others around you.
My stay gold moment this year was a lesson I taught where by the time the end of the period was done, every student had mastered the skills.
And they say, oh, that finally makes sense. Those are my favorite moments of the year.
She really believes that I want all students to succeed. And that was a real stay gold moment for me because that is something I really do try to strive for. And
I talk about cherishing your failures because that's what makes you more resilient. That's what makes us able to stand up to challenges and to figure things out. Failure is nothing but an opportunity to begin again and start again and be successful at something.
The thing that really inspired me about Mr. King's words is that he had many major setbacks in his life and he didn't let that determine who he was as a person.
There were a lot of kids that wouldn't have graduated without you. I honestly probably wouldn't have passed English without you.
Our strategic plan is the gold standard, so telling our stay gold moments was the foundation leading up to our strategic plan, the gold standard, and so that's extremely important for us to celebrating each other's stories. Last Friday, I want to tell you that I served meals alongside our food service workers at High Desert School for a couple of hours, and in the past 5 days they've served over 1,400 meals, and I'm very thankful for all of their efforts, but it was also a very educational experience. Do you think learning takes place at every age? Yes. Are you learning at this age? Yes.
But then when me and Abby were partners, since we saw that Caleb had no one, we went to partner up with Caleb.
And again, I say we're all Mustangs because there's a 5-year-old kindergarten student or a second grade and 7-year-old student who is going to be someday the class of 2030 or 2032 or 2028, and we want to recognize that in all of us, especially in this time and in a small school district, that we are all Mustangs and we support each other and we're here for each other. So that's all we have for today. Everyone be safe and have a great day. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right
on Mustang.
With banner flip-flopping once more, you ride hard, ready for anything under the sky. Will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98 3/4% guarantee. Can you move mountains? Can you move mountains? Oh, the places you go. Oh, the places you go. You're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way. All the places you go. All the places you go.
Thank you for your love of the students and support of the teachers and staff to make things possible for our students. Just like the line of the poem you used for the theme of your time here, nothing gold can stay. We are grateful for your time here and want you to know that we will continue to stay gold. Thank you, Mr. King.
That wasn't fair.
Just thank you to the staff for putting that together. So, Mr. King, you've left your mark here, so we'll truly miss you. And you do have a heart, so thank you. You can see some of your families.
I do see
Some
that.
of your families here, so thank you, King family, for sharing that this last few years. Okay, so with that, do we have any public comments this evening? If we have any public comments, remember that you have no more than 3 minutes or allocated for one speaker, no more than 20 for the same subject. So this portion of the agenda is for comments, recognitions, and reports to the board, and it is not intended to be a question and answer period. If you have questions for the board, please provide the board president with a written copy, and an administrator will provide answers at a later date. Do we have any public comments this evening?
We have one. Do you have a copy of that one?
No, it's just.
Who is it?
Tracy Castillo. Can we unmute Mrs. Costin, please? Okay, Mrs. Costin.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you very clear. Thank you, Tracy. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just, that's a hard act to follow just now. I wanted to make a comment in respect to the last meeting when Mr. Falsgraf stepped out for a very important vote on the High Desert School principal. I just want to say you can defer a vote until everyone is present, even if you don't need that person for the vote. And it is your civic duty as board members to vote on vital items such as principal. And I would hope that your civility statements should not keep you from speaking up to a fellow board member and saying what needs to be said. And I just needed to make that comment quickly because I'm speaking on another agenda item later. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Costin, for your thoughts. Okay, any other comments? Okay, so with that, do we have any recognitions or reports?
Adam, representative.
Well, I'll turn it over to that. So we're going to turn over to Adam. Is Melissa Tresellen? She's not in?
Oh, yeah. What, are you saying there's one more comment?
There's another comment?
She had a total of 3 minutes, yeah.
Okay. I thought she was going. Mrs. Costa, do you have another comment? I apologize.
I do, but it's on an agenda item that's later on, and so I thought I should wait on it. I wasn't sure.
It's her choice.
Yeah, it's your choice, Mrs. Costa. Do you want to wait then?
Yes, I'll wait. Thank you.
Do you know when that is? Do you know when that is?
It's item 13F, the budget report.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Mrs. Costa, because I don't want to miss when you want to speak.
All right, thank you. I'll mute myself.
Thank you. I have to write it down or I will remember. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn it over to Melissa Tressell. Is she in? Okay, she's not here. How about Cesar Ortiz? Is Mr. Ortiz available? Thank you. How about our student rep, Kemp Fairbanks? Mr. King, the gold standard report.
All righty, thank you. The first piece is do a little COVID update. I will share some thoughts about the video and such, but I'm going to hold off on that for just a moment. In regards to the numbers, they are continuing to improve, and as you know, June 15th is the release date for many of the compliance guidelines that are in place, but for schools, it could mean something a little bit different. It could be still a little bit more stringent for schools than, say, for restaurants and so on. But we're waiting for that guidance to still come out. So in the meantime, as I said, things are progressing very, very well. Next, I'd like to comment on the candlelight vigil that I attended last Friday evening. Chief Aadusd, the battalion chief, could not be there, but who I did meet was Deputy Chief O'Brien. I want to thank him and recognize Fire Station 81. I'd also like to thank Dorothy Daniels for facilitating this event and putting it together. I'd like to thank the Metal Art students for their letters that I shared, 3 of them during my comments at the vigil. And I just want to share a couple that I brought with me tonight that I just received in the last 24 hours. So just a sample of what the kids are doing to support our local fire station, which I think is really important. This student is first grader. He writes, "Thank you for putting out fires and keeping us safe." This student writes, "Thank you for saving us from the fires and wildfires. You guys are so kind and brave and heroes. I'm so happy you guys are here. Stay safe, heroes." So thank you for all of the letters that you wrote. Metal Arc Elementary School, truly appreciated by the fire station and our first responders. Our thoughts go out to friends and families of the 2 firefighters who lost their lives in the incident that took place last Tuesday, June 1st. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Captain Arnie Sandoval and his family. We wish him a quick and healthy recovery for Captain Sandoval and thank him for his bravery, courage, and service to our community. Our hearts go out to Fire Station 81, and if it pleases the board, I'd like to take a moment of silence.
Yes.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank the ASB from the high school for providing signage to the fire station as well in the last minute notice. So thank you for doing that. In regards to facilities, nothing to report this evening. I'd like to recognize the high school for doing the Night of the Stars. That was a really nice organized celebration, especially during this time with the restrictions in place for COVID. Mr. Brockway, thank you for all the work you put into organizing that event. You did a fabulous job emceeing the event and logistically organizing the event, and thank you so much for doing that. I look forward to the High Desert promotion this week, as well as the 2 Vasquez High School graduations. In my final comments here this evening, thank you for that video, first of all. I was obviously touched by the video. I really appreciate the work that went into it. The students, as always, are so authentic. I just appreciate that video very much, and I can't wait to take that with me. It's a fabulous parting gift. If you allow me a few minutes, I do have some thoughts here I'd like to share. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have served this district for the past 4 years. I've been your servant leader. We have so much to be thankful for and much that we accomplished. Personally, I'm grateful to the measurable stakeholders' input that we received at all levels, including students, parent advisory committees, staff. Most significantly, I've taken from my experiences that repairing trust is a long and arduous process. Superintendents are not experts in all areas. They specialize in fiscal services or special education, personnel. The board knew what they hired when they hired me, with the specific skill set I think they had in mind. I believe I was able to accomplish the work that I set to do when I was hired. I clearly and publicly laid out the scope of work during my initial days in the district. I want to thank everyone who had a hand in accomplishing the following: cleaning up the Division of State Architect issues that were out of compliance, including the replacement of an out of compliance wrought iron fence, saving the district $250,000, with a ranch style fence that matches our community. With sadness that I recall the loss of one of our board members, Larry Layton. But I'm reminded of Mr. Layton every time I go on our softball field, as he was a huge baseball fan, and his grandkids played softball, and that was the end of our construction, phase 3, and I was proud to be part of the completion of that facilities project and bond measure that was passed. I'm very proud of our strategic plan, the gold standard. Kelly Jensen brought that to our district as an idea just to look into bringing a strategic plan to our district. And we were completely on the same page, as that was work I was very familiar with, having gone through the development of strategic plans in previous districts. One of the first things I did when I came to this district was to tell stories. Those were the stories that you saw in the video with staff and students. Those Stay Gold stories kind of generated the theme, and I think it was you that said to me, we can call it the gold standard. So, and it just grabbed and made sense, and so we partnered up with our stakeholders and developed that plan. Our Stay Gold Senior Walk, thank you for those who helped make that possible, and I hope that's a tradition that continues. It's a great way to show homage to previous teachers and office staff and custodians and people that knew you when you were younger. Stay Gold Senior Scholarships, I was very honored to help bring that with our team to the district and our donors. I'm very thankful to those organizations that helped make that possible. Our parent advisory committee meetings, our superintendent student advisory council, regular meetings with our associations and superintendent, support and partnership with our resident deputy and regular meetings, implementation of the district safety plan, and establishing partnerships with our charter organizations and holding them accountable, including those who lack transparency. I'm proud of all of these things, and I know there's more, but I did want to limit my time here to some extent. I want to thank the teachers. I'm honored to have served with the teachers that deliver education to this community. When I think of the hearts of our teachers, and these are just examples, by no means is this an extensive list, but I think of Miss Scheidig, I think of our kindergarten teachers, Miss Engler, Miss Hamilton, Miss Sutliff, Miss Chun, I think of you, I think of Miss Leff, I think of Captain Krolick, I think of Miss Lundquist, Miss Owens, Miss Alford, Miss Van Ornum, and on. Your hearts and commitment and dedication to this district and the classrooms is tremendous. I love coming in your classrooms, and I appreciate that you included me in celebrations and your classroom culture. Ms. Scheidig, aka Dr. Seuss, so thank you for that. I'm thankful for our support staff, Alex, Caesar, Amy Catalan, Amy Frank, Lucy, Shay, Julie, Paulette, Ken Taft, who cleans my office every day, Natasha and Ernesto. Thank you for everything. No matter what I've needed, you've always been here for me. I thank all of our support staff, our transportation department, maintenance and operations, and so on. I want to thank my wife, who I know was online, so just a shout out to my wife. I love you. Thank you for all the home baked goods you make every year for our board trustees and for our office staff here. And Hannah and Brittany, I know Brittany is working tonight, so she's not online, but Hannah, I love you guys. And thank you for reminding me of the importance of spending time with my family and making that a reality for me. Board, I was thinking about what to say to you. So I was thinking about Wizard of Oz. And I think about, you know, the gifts that you gave to me. So I have 5 bosses, I'll say here, but, you know, 4 currently, but most of the time 5. You each have a unique gift. I'm not sure who to identify in terms of the brain.
Not met on the website of the California dashboard. So this is just a compliance item that we have to do. It has to be a separate consent item. It can't be bulked in with the LCAP.
Any further discussion?
Nothing.
Okay, let's call for the vote.
Paul Jeff, aye. Chad Wadsworth, aye. Tim Jordan, aye.
Kelly Jensen, aye. That's a 4-0 vote. Motion carries. Thank you. 13E, LCAP hearing. So we are going to make a motion.
Tim Jordan. Chad will second.
Chad will second, and we're going to open up this hearing at 9:11. Mr. King.
I'm going to turn it over in just a moment to Hassan Mirza and Kim Shaw and team. I really want to thank Hassan Mirza for coming in just out of the gate and taking the lead on the LCAP. And I know you had concerns early on that, okay. Your concerns early on that you were not a trained educator, so to speak. You've done an amazing job. I sat with you on a couple of the stakeholder input meetings, including our DLAC committee, and I've observed and sat in with you on some of your meetings with the people that you're going to introduce tonight and have present. And you have an amazing way with people. You're humble, you have a good sense of humor, and you're a learner. You're a lifelong learner. So appreciate what you brought to the table on this. And Kim Shaw, I've already stated your expertise in this field already. So I appreciate all the work that the team did on this. And then with that, I will turn it over to the team. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. King. If we can get the PowerPoint pulled up.
We can see it.
You guys can see it? Yeah, we cannot see it. There we go. Okay, perfect. Okay, so good evening, board members. So tonight it'll be myself, this is Kim Shaw. We also have Paula Saavedra, Nicole Chun, and Alexa Lepp that will be presenting to you today as a collaborative team to go over our 22-24 LCAP plan. And this is a brand new LCAP, so it's a 3-year plan. And so without further ado, let's just get started. Alex, can you go to the next slide? Okay, so this is just to kind of recap where we are at this current moment.
Hassan, hold on real quick. Alexa can't turn on her video.
Hold on, we can't hear you.
I don't know about Nicole either. Nicole Chun might need, and Paula, I'm not sure if they're able to turn theirs on yet.
Okay, hold on. Mrs. Shaw, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, we can't hear you, so give us a moment. Try now, Kim.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Okay, so give us a second to pull up the PowerPoint again. Alex, thank you. I don't know what we'd do without you. We appreciate you. Nope. Okay, we just have to be patient. It happens. Can you guys see the PowerPoint?
Yeah, we can see it. I can see it.
We can hear you. We can see the PowerPoint now, so thank you.
Okay.
Can you see Paula and Nicole and Alexa?
They don't have their cameras on, but we can see their names.
I'm not able to turn on my camera right now, so I think I just need permission. And I think Nicole needs audio permission, and Paula needs audio permission.
I have audio.
Audio. You do. Perfect.
Thank you.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Does Paula have audio camera?
Perfect. No, I can't turn on my camera, which is not a huge deal, but it says I need permission.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your patience, and thanks to our tech department for everything they're doing. Okay, so can you see the right slide, guys? We have the calendar. Yes. Okay.
Yes. So where we are right now is a June 9th board hearing where we're going to present to you the goals for the next 3 years. And then following that will be June 24th, where you guys will hopefully, adopt the LCAP and the budget. And so next slide, Alex, that's fine. So the required sections for the LCAP were the title page, the plan summary. We gave you guys an annual update on April 22nd of how we did on our previous goals and, where we were academically, everything from facilities to safety and how the community viewed us and how our communication was. So we gave you guys those updates on our April 22nd meeting. And we went through the stakeholder engagement process, met with all the parent groups, employee groups, and got their feedback, staff members included. We developed goals, action, services, and we had to make sure that we demonstrated our increased or improved services, which is part of our LCFF dollars, which accounts for the supplemental and concentration grant purposes for foster youth English learners and low-income population. And then along with that, you have to give an expenditure summary that ties it all in. So I'm going to pass it now to Kim, Alexa, and they'll go ahead and go over goal 1.
Nicole's the one. Oh, there she is. Perfect.
Hi, I'm here.
You're here.
Next slide, please. Okay. Oh. Good evening, everyone, now that I'm here. So goal number 1 is about academic achievement, and we as a team chose to focus on what we as a district were going to do to support student academic achievement. And so our goal is that the district will provide high-quality educational system for all students, focusing on high academic rigor with a multi-tiered system of support, with a focus on narrowing achievement gaps for all student groups. And then we have several actions tied to this goal, the first of which is about professional development. We know and understand that collective teacher efficacy has the greatest effect on student achievement. And so we want to continue to build and expand to offer relevant, strategic, and ongoing professional development and coaching, but not just for teachers, but for all staff. as an effective way to increase our collective efficacy. Action 1.2 is actually about the MTSS, or multi-tiered systems of support implementation. So we're going to work to expand and strengthen our multi-tiered systems of support to meet the needs of the whole child, all child, every child, beginning with best practices for best first teaching, with an emphasis on universal design for learning, and support in those tiers as we go through it with increasing intensity based on need. And all while considering and attempting to address what may be other root causes for academic challenges, such as trauma-informed practices, SEL, and just filling student gaps. Action 1.3 is all about assessment and data analysis, effective MTSS. Effective delivery of quality instruction requires data from baseline, universal screeners, ongoing formative assessment, and culminating assessments to drive effective instruction and interventions. And we're going to try to build a positive culture around data and assessment, but still remain mindful and try not to test our students ad nauseum, so that we ensure that we're collecting the best, most critical data and synthesizing that to make informed decisions when delivering instruction and supports to our students. And I believe Ms. Shaw has our next set of actions tied to this goal.
Thank you, Nicole. All righty. Action 1.4 is to maintain and hire certificated staff. That would be that we would support the current certificated staff that we have and to hire highly qualified certificated staff, which would include teachers and administrators, so that we offer rigorous classroom instruction to our students, and also that our administrators are the instructional leaders of the school, so that we can support our teachers in that professional development that Nicole mentioned previously. Action 1.5, to expand program options. In this area, we want to, in order to capture all of our students, we want to expand our virtual and homeschool programs, and to look at expanding credit recovery so that we can increase our graduation rates. Action 1.6, district operations and oversights. This is the management of our oversight and providing basic services, so that our district office is providing what the sites need in order to run effectively. And I'm going to pass it on to Alexa.
Good evening, Board and Mr. King. I will be discussing actions 1.7 through 1.9. So action 1.7 is all about implementing the EL master plan. So as a district, we're going to be reevaluating and implementing our existing EL master plan. And we're going to be doing this by reforming our EL task force to review the reclassification procedures and criteria for our EL learners. And then we're also going to have the goal to increase the percentage of English learners who are reclassified fluent English proficient, which is also known as RFEP, by meeting all district criteria. Action 1.8 focuses on college and career readiness and STEM labs. So as a district, taking into account all the stakeholder feedback regarding college and career readiness, we recognize that there's a need to expand this. So we're going to be doing this through the Paxton Patterson College and Career Ready Labs at High Desert School and Project Lead the Way at Vasquez High School. And then finally, Action 1.9 is all about maintaining and hiring classified staff. So this is similar to the goal of 1.4, but it's now for classified. So we're going to continue to maintain and hire highly qualified classified employees to ensure students receive a high quality education. And I'm now going to pass it off to Mr. Mirza to introduce Goal 2.
Okay, so Goal 2 is discussing, it's all about attendance. Student attendance is directly related to student success. And so based on the information we found in our student attendance information system, which is ARIES, it was evident that chronic absenteeism, truancy, habitual truancy, suspension rates, based on our annual update, it was obviously an area that we needed to improve on. So this goal, Action 2.1, it talks about improving attendance and progress monitoring, which goes into parent notifications. You're talking about monthly attendance, monitoring monthly attendance and sending formal district letters out, implementing SART and SARB meetings, and consistent monitoring of all students with appropriate referrals. This also allows us to fund our student information system out of this. action as well. And then action 2.2 is our positive behavior support and restorative practices. So we looked at our discipline data, our suspension rates, and special education plan, which is our SEP plan. And we developed, it was like a huge anomaly that, you know, the suspension rate was highly tied to students with disabilities. And so we needed to improve this area. So we're looking to enhance behavior and academic support for all students with a focus on SWD, SED, EL, and foster youth. And just making sure, you know, we reinforce our Medal of Honor framework, our PBIS, SARB, any restorative practices, and provide additional social and emotional support for school-wide behavior programs. And now Paula Saavedra will go into goal 3.
Hi. All right. So goal 3 is focused on involving parents and the community in decision making at both the school and district level by providing connections and clear and meaningful communication that fosters investment in education and ensuring that families and staff feel we're providing a safe and positive environment in which students can learn. The various actions that we as a district will take to assure that our involvement goal is met include providing multiple opportunities for parents to be involved in our schools and at the district level. So, for example, that would include involvement in decision-making groups such as our school site council, our ELAC, and our DLAC. It would also include opportunities for parents to visit and support the schools, like, for example, joining the PTO, ASMO, Booster Club, or other school organizations, allowing for volunteer opportunities and chaperoning, and having parents attend events at the school site, such as back-to-school night, open house, athletic events, and concerts. And also providing opportunities for parents to learn valuable information during scheduled parent nights and trainings, which will focus on important topics such as attendance, supporting math and reading at home, technology, career days, meeting high school, college requirements. We will also collect feedback from stakeholders annually regarding our students' education, and we will be sure to provide multilingual communication and assure that all materials and resources are translated into the appropriate languages for our parents. So hopefully that will increase parent involvement and parent understanding in our whole educational process at the school sites and at the district.
Okay, so goal 4, I'm going to be introducing once again. So this is all about ensuring that our secondary students are on track to graduate from high school, that they're college and career ready, and that they experience academic progress and success in a broad course of study, keeping the graduation rate at 95% or higher. So action 4.1 is all about graduation tracking and post-secondary support. So this includes our principal, school counselor, and staff who will help monitor and support positive school climate and student engagement to ensure graduation success using systems like Naviance, checking credit statuses and progress monitoring, meetings with our wonderful school counselor, creating college and career plans, scholarship information, college visitations, and of course, a student-school-parent collaboration. Action 4.2 is all about credit recovery and partial credits. So Vasquez will offer a not only a credit recovery program, but also partial credit apportionment based on course completion. And then we're also going to be using summer school for credit recovery that helps ensure that our students are not credit deficient and on track for graduation. Action 4.3 is support for AP and PSAT testing, meaning that we're going to continue to provide cost offsets for AP and PSAT exams for our low-income and foster youth in order to increase their access to College Board examinations for these populations. And we're also going to be providing additional training to our teachers who teach AP courses to hopefully increase our passage rates. And finally, action 4.4 is all about secondary student engagement. So we're going to offer expanded engagement opportunities for our secondary students by continuing and increasing opportunities, whether that be academic or extracurricular during or after school. And goal 5 is Mr. Mirza and Ms. Jen.
Okay, so goal 5 talks about safe schools and facility maintenance, action 5.1 and 5.2. and this is based on stakeholder feedback and throughout the surveys and the parent engagement meetings that we went through. There was an anomaly as far as, maybe it had to do with COVID, maybe it had to do with just the perception. And one act, our Williams audit is saying that our facilities are 100% safe and secure, but then, our stakeholders are not feeling that way. They're not feeling safe. They feel that our facilities need to be upgraded. So we thought we would create this goal in an effort to continue to maintain, as far as continuing to get the 100% on our audits, but then also enhance and make sure that the stakeholders are part of the process when action items are, executed on related to facilities and keeping our schools and our students safe. So safety schools will include all of the training that goes into like anti-bullying, active shooter training. We have social skills, suicide prevention training, mandated reporting training, additional safety supervision hours are included in here. And then facility maintenance goes to our actual facilities and making sure that we have well and upkept facilities and making sure that we have funding for the facilities as well.
And 5.3 is related to instructional materials and the Williams Act. So the district will continue to ensure that all students have access to the appropriate district adopted instructional materials, as well as any supplemental materials purchased. We want to ensure that they are current, they're sound, research-based, and aligned with district goals as well as the state standards, and that we remain at 100% compliance with the Williams Act. And then action 5.4 is the actions we're taking in regards to mental health, and the mental health and emotional well-being of staff and students is essential for achieving any of our goals. So we want to continue to work to provide appropriate support, both locally at each of our school sites through wellness centers and through additional supports, and also through partnerships with outside entities to support mental health across the district.
Okay, and so that's our 5 goals. And so the next step of the process is, as I mentioned, June 24th, you guys would be adopting the LCAP. And then from there, we would submit it to LACO. And then there is going to be some time period where LACO has, feedback and input. So we might be receiving letters saying, seeking clarification on, hey, you need to fix this verbatim to be in compliance with state guidelines. And so we might, just giving you guys all heads up, we might get some feedback from LACO in the forms of letters saying, hey, please, you guys need to fix this in order for the LCAP to get it approved. But then by October 8th, we should have approval from LACO for our LCAP.
Thank you. Any questions? I'm sorry.
I think there's comments. First off, I'd just like to tell the public that I think that these are automated processes that are going on behind the scenes that we don't hear a lot about. I remember when I was the only attendee to the open public LCAP input meeting, so much of the board's work is just a confirmation that this has been done. We recognize it's been done in the interest of the public. So I give the news sound bites, but you guys are in the background doing things. I want to go through each one of these and make a comment. The fluency in which you're able to discuss what your plan is incredible. I appreciate the honesty that comes with it. We're able to say, hey, we've got a challenge here, we've got a challenge here, which means to me that you're looking at the capacities of all kids in the district, and you're using technology and your teaching skill sets. I felt very bad for you. No offense to you, Mr. Marza, but it almost seemed like our kids were in prison for a while because they're just stuck at home. And I wonder, how is it for a teacher to look at kids in a room and be able to see body language and see confusion, to maybe suggest that this kid works with this kid, and you're kind of herding cats, but you know each one of them individually. So I very much appreciate the fluency in which all of you can work together. There's no competition between you. I can see that. That's very refreshing. I think you guys individually and collectively are making school a cool place to go. That's why kids don't go to school. I don't have any fun there. I'm not an individual there. I can't identify with anything there. And at the end of the day, I just got a bunch of Charlie Brown parents, and at the end of the day, I can't measure what's meaningful to me. So I think the technology you're using, and I think you guys being interesting and having excitement is, you know, a kid would rather escape parents, or at least my kids would, by going to school. So I think, you know, this issue of attendance and tardiness and stuff, if kids are dogging their parents, hey, I like to go to school, that's helpful. Ms. Saavedra, I've had a meeting with you recently. I appreciate the behavior you model to make everyone in the room feel safe. And once we feel safe, then we can contribute and work towards a solution. So the behaviors that you all model as professionals set a tone for what your staff, it speaks a lot about what you're going to do to support the people that look to you for the support they need in the classroom. So I commend each one of you on your professionalism. I'm trying to learn from each one of you individually and collectively. I think number 4 is kind of a fail-safe when number 1 doesn't get to everybody. I think the more effort you put into number 1, the less likely, the measurable to me is going to be less and less kids involved in the interventions that are necessary in step 4. That means to me, though, that your customers, I see your kids as customers and their parents as their attorneys. But when you have control of a kid coming in and they're your customer from preschool, by the time they get to 8th grade, you guys have done a good job. I think some of the kids that are coming and going and hopping around to a charter or wherever they're hopping into, I think sometimes when they hop into our system late, or when our system hasn't been this structured with known goals and expectations, I think that number 4 is, you see those numbers coming up with your attention on number 1. Number 5, yeah, I want a tiddlywinks, a professional tiddlywinks facility. I'm probably not likely to get that. I think your Williams score is a federally mandated court decision-based measure of what your facilities look like. I know that there have been some decisions made at Meadowlark where we got rid of disease breeding ground carpet. The floors look great. The walls look great. The basic things that you would use to rate a system is in good shape. I commend you because the budget isn't that good, but your stuff isn't out there getting tore up from the floor up, which means your kids are respecting your school, which all goes back to the behaviors you all modeling. What I'm most happy about is that you're recognizing individual students and their needs. You have a scientific means of doing that protects their dignity. You're all as professionals able to, the bottom line for me is I don't care the one kid that's on the front page of the newspaper. I want to see all of them on the front page of the newspaper. When it comes to EL, I don't want to bring kids in here and give them the idea, oh, you're finally able to talk like I do in 8th grade. That's the worst insult there is. We need to start crossing some lines about how we communicate with each other. I walked into a date row in Palm Springs and I couldn't speak to anybody. They couldn't speak to me and we weren't getting much done. So we all have to learn each other's stuff. I was happy to hear that you're considering using virtual and hybrid things to recapture our audience that we don't have. I've heard Mr. Wadsworth talk about this. Think outside the box. Those kids are ours. We know they're ours. We're not going to let anybody else have them. And we deserve to have them because you're going to give them a good environment. So I applaud you. This work goes on constantly behind the scenes, and just because somebody isn't yelling it out the top of their lungs doesn't mean that good things aren't happening in this district. This TOSA thing, is one of the best developments I've seen. Miss John, I apologize that you were trapped in a classroom. All the kids loved you, but your ability to get out here and make a big difference and think outside the box, I have known you for a very long time. This should be a proud point in your career. And thank you all for supporting her. Thank you.
Good evening. I won't add much to what Ken had to say, but I just want to say thank you to the 5 of you for putting this presentation together. It's great work, and I'll pass it on to Mr. Jorgensen.
Well, over the years, we've heard lots about what we're going to do, what we're going to do, what we're going to do. And tonight's presentation and the hard work that you 5 put together, tying it all together with steps, logical steps, and support of students is to be appreciated. As a teacher, I heard this over and over the years. I know working with Nicole, we'd have professional development. We'd come out and sometimes we'd scratch our head and say, what was that about? So I'm really happy and I'm very pleased about the hard work that you put in. You've tapped all the resources from Ms. Shaw, Mr. Mirza, Alexa, the middle life, Ms. Savendra over there, and Nicole. Great work for you all. Keep it up. We're looking forward to when this is approved, our students are going to be the beneficiary. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys look wonderful too in your little screens with your matching backgrounds supporting our gold standards. So thank you for that. One thing I do want to point out that I did notice is that the LCAP, their goals and the actions that you have in the LCAP do support our gold standard, our strategic plan. So I want to point that out because you guys are all so humble and did not. I want to make sure that we are letting everyone know that this is funding our strategic plan. So all the things that you mentioned, we have, and that is supporting that. Great teamwork. I can see that you guys all work well together, and I really appreciate that, and our kids are going to benefit from all your work. So thank you so much. So we're going to close this hearing at 9:40 p.m. And we're going to move to 13F, our 2021-22 annual budget hearing. Before we do that, I do believe we have a comment from Mrs. Costan. And Tracy, I believe you have like 2 minutes. No, she took a minute for her.
No,
that's what I want.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
So my questions will probably be answered during the presentation, but I just wanted to clarify if I'm understanding this correctly. On slide 14, halfway down, where it says total projected expenditures in the first 2 columns, I'm wondering if the $700,000 payout in the $90,000 increments is considered in these 2 columns, and if I'm reading this correctly. And the line below that, the surplus deficit, there's a big difference between the first 2 columns, $83,000 and $388,000. And I'm wondering if that's because of the COVID relief fund that we got again this year. Is this why there's such a huge difference in those 2 columns? As I was trying to figure this out on my own. Those were my only 2 questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Costan. And if your questions aren't answered, you can reach out and we'll make sure that you get your answers. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll open, we'll have to make a motion to move this in, please. I'm sorry. I'll go ahead and second that. And we're going to open up this hearing at 9:42 p.m. Mr. King.
So thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Mirza in just a moment. This is a requirement that we must submit our budget prior to July 1st in order to have an adopted budget for the following school year. So thank you. And with that, Hassan, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, once again, good evening, board members. So yes, I'm going to be presenting to you tonight on the 2021-2022 budget for this upcoming school year. And so let's get right to it. So the agenda for today is we'll go over the reporting requirements, we'll go over the reserves, we'll talk about our enrollment and ADA trends, then we'll get to the revenue and expenditures, then we'll look at our ending fund balance, and then we'll get right into the MYP, and then we'll close it out with final thoughts and comments and questions. And so for the reporting requirements per Education Code 42127, and 52062, school districts must hold two separate governing public meetings. The first one is today, which is the LCAP hearing and now the budget hearing, and the second meeting is the LCAP and budget adoption that will happen on the 24th, and you just have to make sure that the LCAP item precedes this budget item at each meeting, and that they're at least held one day apart. And so when we developed the budget, we obviously had to develop the LCAP first, and along came with the budget, and so we tied all of our LCFF dollars with all of these goals that we just went over in the previous presentation with you guys. So our district reserves, we will be able to meet and exceed the next two fiscal years 4% board minimum required reserve. 2021, 2022 available reserves looking at about 57.70. 2022, 2023 reserves are going to be looking at about 54.46%. And 2023, 2024, it'll go down to about 49.75. So as you can see, it is slowly, we're chipping away at it. Even though our reserve is a little high, we still have deficit spending when we get to the MYP, about $364 per year. And so we have to try to fix that. And so going on to our enrollment and ADA trends. Okay, so this was a little tough based on, we're not sure how the future is going to look, and, it's kind of hard to project out ADA and enrollment. And so I know for now, if you're looking at it historically, we lost about 49 students from 2018-19 to 2019-20. Then we were held harmless. If you see, 979, 979, I mean, we didn't see any decrease because of the pandemic, and we were held harmless. And so we're projecting a slight decrease. I mean, based on school services and the guidance that we're receiving, they're expecting that all school districts project a slight, steep decrease and then a level out. And so we really don't know as far as how our enrollment's going to look, so it's really kind of hard to estimate that. So we dropped it down to about 97, but I did get word just like yesterday that we might still be we might still get held harmless. So if we do get held harmless, we'll be funded of either the 2021 fiscal year or the 2019-20 fiscal year, whichever is higher. And I'm hoping that happens, because then we'll be funded off of that 979 ADA. And so you are seeing us projecting declining enrollment and a decreasing ADA throughout the years, but I'm hoping that the legislation passes and that we are held harmless for this upcoming school. And so if we go down further, the next slide, this is our LCFF revenue. So from our 2020 initial budget to our 2022 budget now, we saw an increase about $786,000. Our federal revenue decreased about $1.6 million. Our state revenues decreased about $752,000. Our local revenues also decreased about $58,000. And so in total, we decreased about $1.6 million. But what we did do was we did align this state budget with the governor's May revision. So you saw a huge increase in our LCFF funding because of the 5.07%. They call it a mega COLA that we're going to be receiving in this upcoming year. And then also we suspended the transfer of funds from the general fund for deferred maintenance, because we do have other funds that we can use off of just for the time being due to the deficit spending. So it's a good point to note that out of this $10,505,000, $1,046,603 must be used for that supplemental concentration grant dollars for that 511 student population that we have that fall in that unduplicated population, which is your low income, foster youth, and I'm missing one. That's true. Yeah. So low income foster youth, which I'm missing. SPAD. English learners, you got it. English learners, yes. And so then you have your federal revenue is decreasing because approximately our ESSER 1 and our ESSER 2 funds, as our one-time COVID funds, was removed from the budget for this upcoming year. And so And then also, during the time that we're developing the budget, we get Title I, Title II, Title III funding, and there's like if we don't, let's say we get $100,000 for Title I funding and we don't spend all of it, there's some carryover dollars that say we spend 50,000 of it. There's an additional 50,000 that's left over that's called carryover, and so right now we had to remove the carryover from all the title programs because the year end is not closed out. So once we close the books, which is in like August, September, your first interim reporting when we come back to you, you're going to see that all of these federal, state, federal, state revenues are going to have their carryover added back on, so you'll see an increase. But the main decrease of this was due to removing those one-time COVID funds. And then state revenues are also reflected the same way. We removed the expanded learning opportunity grant funding because we got it in this fiscal year, 2021, and not in 2022. And local revenues were just reduced due to miscellaneous items, interest, donations, facilities, fingerprints, leases. So if we move forward, this is your charter revenue. So out of this local revenues, this $3.1 million that we have, your charter revenue is broken down by each charter school that we have based on their 2021 P180A, and this is their total LCFF funding, and this is their district oversight fee, and then we charge 2 charters facility fees, and so we've budgeted about $1.4 million for the charter portion that makes up this local revenues here, this $3.1 million. So our general fund expenditures, our certificated salaries and classified salaries decreased about $721,000. Classified salaries $104,000. I put them in green because the decrease means we're decreasing our expenses in this situation. Our benefits are showing an increase, which is highlighted in red because it's bad. Our benefits costs are going up for us, so about 7.71%. Our supplies and services were decreased significantly. So we saw overall decrease in our total expenditures about $2.4 million. And we'll get into the details as far as how we came up with that. And so this is just a quick display that shows about approximately 68% of our budget, our expenditures, are labor. We have certificated salaries, classified salaries, and benefits. So that makes up the bulk of our budget. And then this is the percentage of the others. So our expenditure variances, certificate and classified salaries, you guys saw a decrease about $721,000, about $104,000 for the classified salaries, and this had a lot to do with the reductions and along with the PARs and the non-replacements of those positions. Our benefits reflect an increase to account for the STRS and PERS rates that are going up, and our SUI, which is our unemployment insurance. CalPERS went up from 20.70 to 22.91. STRS went up 0.77. SUI dramatically went up, which we were kind of shocked. We received a letter stating that the state need to increase our rates to generate sufficient revenue to restore their own fund reserves. So they said that this would just be a one-time increase, but that equates to about $100,000 for our district. And so supplies and materials were reduced in Chromebooks and technology due to purchasing, in this fiscal year, 2020-21 year. And we also reduced the budgets to reflect the removal of the one-time COVID funds. And same with services. The majority of this budgets that we had in place were removed because of the charter settlement. The $727,000 budget was removed. And we paid it in this year, fiscal year 2021. And then contracted services were also reduced about $495,000. And these were more like placeholders. So like if you have to account for like the COVID expenditures. So once we removed that budget from the revenue side, we have to come and remove the expense side budget as well. Let's go here. And so now beginning and ending fund balance, as you can see, from 21 to 2022, the change from the previous year, it went down about 0.81%. But then as the years progress, And we have taken into consideration the COLAs in the out years, which you'll see a slide that shows the assumptions that we used. You're still seeing a decrease about 3.8%, and then to 2023, 2024, about 3.46%. Let's see here. So here is the slide that we use for our assumptions and our planning purposes. CalSTRS rates were given, and this we'll call the California School Dashboard. CalPERS rates are given here. Your unemployment insurance rate is given here. So CalPERS increase costs us about $67,000. Your CalSTRS increase from the out years, like if you see it goes up from 16.92 from this upcoming fiscal year, and it's going to jump up to 19.10. That's going to cost us about $107,000. Your SUI rate, which I mentioned earlier, is approximately $93,000. And then I did not apply the CPI, which is the California Price Index, which accounts for inflation. I didn't account for that in our expenses to not inflate our expenses even more. And so now if we look at our MYP for the next three years, your beginning balance is $10,313,545. You have the projected revenue at $15 million, and your projected expenses are $15,220,000. There's no expense adjustments at this point for this fiscal year. I kind of kept it the same as we had its second interim, and put those expense adjustments, pretty much reductions here in the future out years. So you see $325,000 reduction here, and an additional $525,000 reduction here, which still shows in this upcoming fiscal year 2021-2022 with zero expense adjustments, we're still deficit spending $83,837, and that accounts for us not. That's one of the reasons that I didn't move the additional $325,000 over from the general fund to deferred maintenance, because it would just bump up this deficit even more. And we do have other funds that we could pull from for that for the time being. And so you're still looking at deficit spending $83,000 in this year. Your 2022-2023 year, it goes to $388,000, even with these $325,000 expense reductions. And then the following year out, you're at $340,000 still deficit spending. And so your reserve level is high, but I'm grateful it's high, because we would be in a completely different place at this point, and we're just slowly chipping away. So we need to fix our structural issue here. And so, like I mentioned, COLA was applied. 5.07 was this year, and in the out years you have 2.48 COLA was applied for on your revenues, and then the following third year 3.54% COLA was applied, and that's based on the May revise. And your other funds, your Fund 13, your Fund 14, as you can see, it's not going to have, we're projecting to fully spend it this upcoming year, so we won't have a balance here. Your child nutrition will still have a balance of $107,000. You have some leftover monies here, $3,000 for Fund 17. Here's where your maintenance, your future maintenance projects will be funded from. You have $372,000 out of Fund 25. And then Fund 40, you have an additional $382,000, and then this is leftover funds that we're hoping to spend next year. It's about $8,600 left over from the high school project. And then you have Fund 49, which is your community facilities district fund, and that's still in the initial stages. And so we're paying for like the attorney fees related to that project out of the CFD fund. And so, in summary, we are able to certify positive, and we are able to meet our financial obligations for the current and the next 2 years. We went over, the COLAs were included. I removed the transfer to Fund 14 from the general fund. We removed the ELO funds and the removal of the one-time funds. We included declining enrollment. We have the board reduction for the PARs and savings that were included in the budget. Charter revenue from special education has been removed, so the contribution from general fund is required and is included in the budget. STRS, PERS, all those adjustments have been made. Deferred maintenance has been suspended. Transfers, technology purchases have been limited because we purchased so much with the COVID funding that we think we'll be okay. Textbook adoption is included in the next upcoming year, and the negotiations with ADA has been settled for 2021. So in conclusion, we just have to, we are able to, stay positive without the need to borrow any cash, which is good. We don't have any cash flow issues because we have such a strong reserve. We just have to be prudent in developing our budgets. And then I'm optimistic that there's additional funding coming in with ESSER 3. I think we got our initial allocations, which is about $1.3 million. And so you'll see that revised at first interim time once it gets finalized. And I'm also optimistic about additional special education funding, that'll help us assist with the contribution of the rising costs that are continuing with SPED services. And so our next steps, by June 30th, we have to have this adopted budget. So we have our meeting on June 24th. July through August, which summertime, we'll be working to close out the books. We also have our audits happening at the same time. And then by December 15th, you'll get the first interim update. And that's about it. You guys have any questions or concerns?
Thank you for that presentation. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
It's Paul Jeff here. I appreciate the fluency in which you can discuss the budget. I remember days in the board meeting when Mr. Jorgensen was a teacher rep, when there would be questions, and it was almost like as if there needed to be a nod from the superintendent or the board president for someone to open their mouth and tell what the story was. There were even comments made that releasing that information might expose the district to some legal liability. That in itself, that theory continues to shock me. I think that everyone should be aware that taxpayer-funded agencies aren't in the money-making business. So, for example, at work, we have a fee and schedule thing where if somebody runs over one of my trees, I can't tack on a bunch of money and make money off of it. I have to charge at what the actual cost is. Same way when rate pay